At the beginning of the story, we are taken to a packed American football stadium where an exciting match is already underway. Sitting in the luxurious VIP section is a man named Nicky, along with his beautiful girlfriend Jess. Even though thousands of fans around them are completely focused on the game, Nicky seems far more interested in watching the people in the crowd than the players on the field. As he casually looks around, he suddenly notices a beautiful young woman getting up from her seat and walking toward the exit. The moment she starts leaving, a playful idea pops into Nicky's mind. Smiling, he turns to Jess and challenges her to a small bet. He asks her to guess how many men will turn around to look at the woman before she disappears from sight. Their little conversation catches the attention of another man sitting nearby, named Liyuan. Finding the idea amusing, Liyuan asks if he can join the game as well. Nicky has no problem with it, and all three of them put $10 on the table before carefully watching the crowd. As the woman walks away, everyone silently counts the people who turn their heads to look at her. After she finally disappears, they compare their answers and discover that exactly 7 people looked back at her. Jess's guess is the closest, making her the winner of the first round. Liyuan laughs, keeps his word without arguing, and immediately hands over the money. Instead of feeling upset about losing, he looks even more excited than before. He quickly suggests another round, but this time the bet has nothing to do with the crowd. Now the question is which team will commit the next foul during the football game. Jess immediately steps back, saying she doesn't understand football well enough to make that kind of prediction. Nicky, however, feels confident and places a much bigger bet of $1,000. Everyone watches the field closely, and only a few seconds later the referee blows the whistle and calls a foul. The team Nicky predicted turns out to be the correct one, earning him an easy $1,000. Nicky calmly collects the money and slips it into his pocket with a satisfied smile. Surprisingly, losing another bet only makes Liyuan even more excited. He raises the stakes to $5,000 and comes up with another challenge. This time they have to guess whether the next play will be a passing play or a running play. Hearing the amount, Nicky hesitates for a few seconds because $5,000 is no longer a small amount to gamble. Still, after thinking it over, he agrees. Liyuan confidently says the player will run with the ball, while Nicky believes they will throw a pass instead. Everyone waits for the whistle. The play begins, and within seconds the player chooses to run exactly as Liyuan predicted. Nicky instantly loses the $5,000. Although he forces a smile, it's obvious that the loss bothers him. He says that losing $5,000 is enough for one day and suggests ending the game there. Turning toward Jess, he asks her to go bring them some coffee so they can enjoy the rest of the match peacefully. But Liyuan refuses to let the fun end so easily. Looking at Nicky, he points out that anyone sitting in the VIP lounge must have plenty of money. He laughs and says that someone like Nicky shouldn't even care about losing $5,000. Then he keeps encouraging him to play just one more round, this time with a $10,000 bet. Nicky tries to ignore him at first, but after being pushed again and again, his competitive side takes over, and he finally agrees. The next question is simple. Will the upcoming pass be completed successfully or not? Nicky confidently predicts that the quarterback will complete the pass without any problem. The ball is thrown through the air, but before it reaches the receiver, a defender jumps in and intercepts it. Nicky watches in disbelief as another $10,000 disappears. His total losses have now reached $15,000. While taking out the money to pay, the confident smile on his face slowly begins to disappear. He starts looking worried and realizes that his luck may have changed. After thinking for a moment, he suggests making the next bet much smaller at only $500. Jess is shocked because she expected him to stop completely, not continue gambling. Unfortunately for Nicky, lowering the amount doesn't change his luck. He loses once again and has to hand over another $500. Seeing him lose over and over again, Jess immediately tells him to stop before things get even worse. But Nicky's pride has already taken control of him. Instead of walking away, he suddenly loses his temper and announces a shocking new bet worth $100,000. Even Liyuan is surprised by the amount. He smirks and asks Nicky if he actually has that much cash. Without saying a single word, Nicky reaches into his bag and throws a huge bundle of money onto the table. Seeing that mountain of cash instantly makes Liyuan's eyes light up. Nicky then predicts that the very next pass will be intercepted instead of being completed. Everyone watches the field in complete silence. This time, however, the receiver catches the ball perfectly without anyone stopping him. Nicky loses yet again. At this point, his losses have climbed into the millions of dollars, and for the first time he truly looks trapped. He has no idea how to recover the money he has already thrown away. Jess can't believe what she is seeing. The man who only wanted to have a little fun has completely lost control of himself. Even so, the gambling doesn't stop. Nicky says that he only has $1 million left and decides to risk every last cent in one final game. Instead of betting on football, they decide to settle everything with a simple card draw. Because Li Yuan has been winning non-stop, he is almost overflowing with confidence. In his eyes, Nicky has become nothing more than an ATM that keeps giving him money. Li Yuan draws first and reveals a 5. Seeing that card, everyone realizes Nicky has a very good chance of winning because he only needs to draw anything higher than a 5. Nicky confidently picks a card and slowly flips it over, fully expecting his luck to finally return. But the moment the card is revealed, his face freezes. It's only a 3. Jess is so shocked that she almost falls out of her chair. What started as a few harmless bets worth only a few $1,000s has now turned into a disaster, with Nicky losing more than $1 million, nearly 9 crore rupees. Completely defeated, Nicky quietly grabs Jess's hand and starts walking toward the exit without saying a word. His face clearly shows how badly this loss has crushed him. But Li Yuan isn't satisfied yet. He loudly mocks Nicky, saying this is exactly what happens when amateurs try to challenge a true gambling master. Hearing those words, Nicky suddenly stops walking. After standing still for a few seconds, he slowly turns around and shocks everyone by announcing one final bet worth $2 million. This time, however, the rules are completely different. Nicky tells Li Yuan to use a pair of binoculars and randomly choose any player anywhere on the field. If Nicky can correctly guess that player's jersey number, then he wins everything. Li Yuan stares at him in confusion because the challenge sounds completely impossible. It almost feels like Nicky is claiming he can read minds. At the same time, Li Yuan becomes suspicious and wonders if Nicky is secretly cheating somehow. Wanting to remove every bit of doubt, Nicky says he won't even make the guess himself. Instead, Jess will be the one to choose the number. Jess immediately glares at him in complete disbelief. She has absolutely no idea what Nicky is planning. There are dozens of players on the field, and the chances of randomly saying the correct jersey number are almost 0. Frustrated and angry, she decides she wants nothing to do with this madness and starts walking away. However, before she can leave, one of Li Yuan's bodyguards steps in front of her and blocks her path. Jess tries to push past him, but the guard refuses to move, and within moments, a heated confrontation breaks out. Jess finally calmed down, and Nicky quietly told her not to overthink it. He said she should simply look across the field and say whichever jersey number felt familiar. Li Yuan first used the binoculars to choose a random player, then handed them to Jess. She looked around the stadium, but every direction was filled with players wearing different numbers, making her even more confused. Just when she was about to give up, she spotted someone she recognized. It was their teammate Farhad, wearing jersey number 55. Remembering Nicky's advice, she confidently answered 55. The entire place went silent because it was the exact number Li Yuan had picked. Li Yuan couldn't believe it, and even Jess was left wondering how Nicky had known this would happen. But none of that mattered anymore. They had just won the $2 million bet, recovered everything they had lost, and walked away with over $1 million in profit. As they left the stadium carrying bags full of cash, Jess demanded an explanation. Inside the car, Nicky finally revealed that the whole thing had been carefully planned from the beginning. Li Yuan wasn't just some rich gambler. He was well known for being addicted to betting and could never refuse a challenge. Nicky's team had spent days preparing for this moment. Everywhere Li Yuan went, they secretly planted the number 55 into his mind. The security guard at his hotel wore a badge with 55 on it. The signs along the road also showed 55 again and again. Even during the drive to the stadium, a song was played that repeated a sound similar to 55 over 100 times, slowly pushing that number deeper into his subconscious. On top of that, they had already shown him a picture of Farhad earlier, so when he looked through the binoculars, his brain naturally focused on Farhad without him realizing it. The moment Jess saw Farhad, she also picked 55 without thinking. Nicky explained that he never told Jess about the plan because her surprise had to be real. If she had known anything, Li Yuan might have noticed something was wrong. Jess was amazed after hearing how perfectly everything had been planned. The story then jumps back a few days earlier. Nicky is lying on a bed inside a room while a man points a gun at his head. Jess, who had only met Nicky recently, is sitting nearby. It looks like Nicky has been trapped, but instead of panicking, he calmly says he doesn't have a single dollar and tells the man to pull the trigger if he wants. The gunman watches Nicky's reaction and quickly realizes this isn't an ordinary victim. He understands that Nicky is a professional con artist, maybe even better than his own crew. And he's right, Nicky is an expert scammer who pulls off small jobs with incredible skill. Jess had been the one who tricked Nicky into coming there, but instead of getting angry, Nicky noticed she had real talent. Once the gunman leaves, Nicky tells her she has the natural ability to fool people and says that if she learns the right tricks, she could make a great living doing it. He explains that scamming runs in his family. His father and grandfather were both masters of the trade. so he grew up learning every trick in the book. Interested by what she hears, Jess immediately offers him money and asks him to teach her. Nicky agrees without wasting any time. Before leaving, he secretly steals her ring without her noticing. By the time she realizes it's missing, her watch has already disappeared too. When she puts the watch into her handbag, Nicky has already taken her wallet as well. Smiling, he tells her that this job is all about quick hands, perfect timing, and acting with confidence. After saying goodbye, he walks away. A few months later, Jess tracks him down in New Orleans, where Nicky is putting together a new crew. Their reunion is actually another test to see if she's ready to join. After she passes, Nicky sends her to a crowded fair with one of his teammates for her first real mission. While Jess distracts people by asking for directions with a map, her partner quietly steals an expensive camera lens from a tourist. Moments later, another teammate bumps into a man on purpose, giving Jess the perfect chance to lift his wallet. Her confidence keeps growing, and she even uses a pair of chopsticks to pull another woman's wallet out of her handbag so smoothly that nobody notices a thing. Watching everything from the rooftop of a nearby building, Nicky tells the others to stay back because it's time to let Jess work on her own. She moves through the crowd, stealing one valuable item after another. And with every successful job, Nicky becomes more impressed by her talent. After seeing how talented Jess was, Nicky gave her a much bigger job. This time the team was running several advanced scams at once. One trick involved special contact lenses that secretly let them see other players' cards during card games, making it easy to win. At the same time, another group was stealing credit cards. One teammate would quietly take a victim's card, pass it to another member who copied all the information using a small device, and then slip the card back into the owner's pocket before anyone noticed it was gone. By the time the victim realized something was wrong, their bank account had already been emptied. They also used a fake ATM that looked completely real. Whenever someone inserted their card and entered their PIN, the machine secretly saved all the details. Later, Farhad would quietly collect the fake ATM, giving the team access to every card and PIN that had been used. They sorted the stolen card details based on spending limits, bought expensive luxury products, and later sold both the goods and the card information on the black market for huge profits. One day, Jess spotted a beautiful necklace and decided to try it on, but Nicky immediately told her to take it off. He reminded her that nothing they stole belonged to them and that every item had to be sold. Keeping anything for personal use was against the rules. It was Jess's first time seeing such a large-scale operation, and she was amazed by the amount of expensive stolen items surrounding her. The next day, she and Farhad headed to a wealthy neighborhood for another mission. Farhad suddenly pretended to collapse on the street while Jess screamed for help, drawing everyone's attention toward them. As the crowd rushed over, the rest of the team quietly stole wallets, jewelry, and other valuables from the distracted rich people. Once the job was done, everyone slipped into a waiting ambulance and disappeared before anyone realized they had been robbed. That night, the whole crew celebrated together after Nicky announced they had earned $1.2 million in just 1 week. The following day, the team prepared to split up. Fake IDs, documents, and every piece of evidence were destroyed, and Nicky promised that everyone's share would be transferred into their bank accounts within a few days. The experienced members knew Nicky wasn't finished yet, so they handed him $1.2 million in cash for one final operation and jokingly warned Jess not to lose at gambling. The next morning, Nicky took Jess to the football stadium, where everything that happened with Lee Wen had actually been planned as the team's last big score. Through that setup, Nicky showed Jess how millions of dollars could be made in just a few minutes with the right plan. By now, Jess had completely fallen for him. She believed they were more than partners and thought Nicky had brought her into his life because he cared about her. But the truth was much colder. Nicky had only recruited her because she was useful for the job. After everything was over, he handed her $80,000 as her share and quietly said goodbye. Jess stood there heartbroken. She truly loved Nicky, but after seeing him walk away with over $1 million while giving her only a small piece of it, she realized that feelings meant nothing to him. In Nicky's world, business always came first. 3 years later, the story moves to a racing circuit, where Nicky arrives looking tired and almost broke. During lunch, he meets Garriga, the owner of a professional racing team. Garriga's engineers have created a powerful racing program called EXR, but they need Nicky's skills to pull off a clever scam. The plan is simple. Nicky will pretend to be the team's chief engineer and fake a huge argument with Garriga in public. Rival teams will believe he's angry enough to betray them, so they'll pay him to secretly sell them what they think is the real EXR system. In reality, Nicky will give them a fake version, while Garriga's team keeps the real software and gains a huge advantage on the track. Nicky will earn €1 million for helping with the plan, plus whatever money he makes from selling the fake system. To Nicky, the whole job sounds incredibly easy. He's sure he can pull it off without any trouble. But Garriga's butler doesn't trust him at all, and coldly warns that if anything goes wrong, Nicky won't live long enough to regret it. Later that evening, Nicky dresses in a tuxedo and heads to a fancy party where he and Garriga are supposed to stage their fake fight. But the plan falls apart the moment Nicky sees Jess walking down the stairs in a stunning red dress, before warmly hugging Garriga. Nicky freezes. It's the first time he's seen her in 3 years, and now she's standing beside the man who hired him. Jess quietly pulls Nicky aside and tells him she's left the con artist's life behind. She says what happened between them years ago is over and asks him not to tell Garriga about their past because he knows nothing about it. Hearing those words makes Nicky furious. He grabs a glass of vodka, drinks it in one shot, and when it's time to start the fake argument, his anger is completely real. The fight becomes so intense that security has to drag him out of the party. But even after getting thrown out, Nicky leaves with exactly what he wanted: a business card from the rival racing team, proving they had completely fallen into the trap. The next morning, Nicky met the owner of the McLaren racing team to complete the first part of the plan. Without wasting any time, he got straight to the point and said that if they wanted the EXR system, it would cost them 3 million euros. He didn't even bother negotiating because he knew the owner was incredibly wealthy, and for someone like him, money wasn't the issue. The McLaren owner agreed almost immediately. Before making the payment, they decided to test the software on one of their race cars. As the car sped around the track, the results were so impressive that the owner's face lit up with excitement. Nicky confidently assured him that this was only a preview and that the complete version of the software would be delivered within the next 48 hours. Meanwhile, on the other side of the city, Jess unexpectedly met Farhad. Nicky had sent him with an important message. Farhad explained that Nicky never wanted to leave her 3 years ago, but at the time he simply had no other choice. He insisted that despite everything that had happened, Nicky had never stopped loving her. Before leaving, Farhad handed Jess a small gift box. Curious, she opened it and was stunned to find the exact same necklace she had admired years earlier during one of Nicky's jobs. She had no idea whether it was genuine or just another fake, but that no longer mattered. Simply seeing that necklace brought back countless memories. Although Jess claimed she could never trust Nicky again, the expression on her face made it obvious that a part of her heart still belonged to him. A few days later, the time finally came to complete the deal. Nicky met the McLaren owner once again and handed over what appeared to be the complete EXR system. In return, a huge bodyguard standing beside the owner handed Nicky a suitcase containing 3 million euros in cash. But Nicky had never been the type of man to settle for one payday. Instead of selling the software to only one team, he secretly met every major racing team participating in the competition. One by one, he sold each of them exactly the same software, shaking hands, collecting millions of euros, and disappearing before anyone realized they had all been given the identical program. Every team believed they had purchased an exclusive advantage that nobody else possessed. None of them had the slightest idea that every rival team now owned the exact same system. By the time the race started, it would already be too late for anyone to do anything about it. That evening, instead of escaping the country like everyone expected, Nicky sent a message to Jess. In it, he asked her to meet him one last time so they could leave everything behind and run away together. Nicky waited anxiously at the meeting spot. Minutes passed, but Jess didn't appear. Eventually, he accepted that she wasn't coming and slowly turned around to leave. But just before he walked away, Jess finally arrived. For a brief moment, it looked like the two of them might actually get the fresh start they had both secretly wanted. Unfortunately, that moment didn't last long. Suddenly, the same giant man who had earlier handed Nicky the suitcase full of cash stepped right in front of them. It turned out he wasn't working for the McLaren team at all. He was actually Garriga's trusted man. Garriga had already uncovered Nicky's betrayal. He had discovered that Nicky hadn't sold fake copies of the software like they had agreed. Somehow, Nicky had stolen the real EXR program itself and sold it to everyone. Knowing Nicky had completely crossed him, Garriga's man wasn't interested in the promised 1 million euros anymore. Wearing full protective racing gear, he deliberately rammed his vehicle straight into Nicky's car. The brutal crash left Nicky and Jess unable to escape. When they regained consciousness, they found themselves tied up inside a warehouse with all the money stacked nearby. Garriga stood in front of them, absolutely furious. He had spent nearly 40 million euros developing the EXR system, and now Nicky had destroyed the value of the entire project in a single day. More than anything, Garriga wanted to know one thing: how had Nicky managed to steal the real software? Nicky refused to answer. Losing his patience, Garriga grabbed Jess and covered her nose, cutting off her air until she could barely breathe. Watching her struggle finally broke Nicky's silence. He confessed that everything had been planned from the beginning. He admitted that he had deliberately tried to win Jess back only so he could give her the necklace she once loved. Hidden inside that necklace was a tiny electronic chip. Whenever Garriga came close to Jess while working on the software, the chip secretly captured his password and transferred the information needed to steal the EXR program. Hearing this confession completely shattered Jess. Tears rolled down her face as she realized Nicky had once again used her as part of a scam. But to her surprise, Garriga and his men didn't become angry. Instead, they burst into laughter. They admitted the story was clever enough to impress them, but they simply didn't believe it. Garriga then revealed a truth of his own. Jess had never been his real girlfriend. He knew from the beginning that she was only staying close to him because of his wealth. Jess finally confessed as well. She admitted she had never truly loved Garriga. Her real goal had been to steal his expensive watch collection, and pretending to date him had also been her way of making Nicky jealous. With all the lies finally out in the open, Garriga completely lost his patience. He turned toward his butler and demanded that Nicky reveal the real method he had used to steal the software. Nicky had barely opened his mouth before the butler suddenly pulled out a gun and fired directly into his chest. Nicky collapsed to the floor as blood spread across his clothes. Garriga was horrified. He had wanted answers, not a dead body. Panicking, he shouted that losing money was one thing, but being connected to a murder would destroy his entire life. Furious, he fired the butler on the spot before quickly fleeing the warehouse with the rest of his men. Jess dropped to her knees beside Nicky, crying uncontrollably as she believed he had died. But then something unexpected happened. The butler calmly told her to stop crying because everything had gone exactly according to plan. He revealed that he had been working with Nicky all along. Even more surprisingly, he confessed that he was actually Nicky's biological father. The shot had been carefully planned. He had deliberately aimed just beside Nicky's heart instead of directly through it. Immediately afterward, he sealed the wound with special tape, used a needle to remove the trapped blood, balanced the pressure inside Nicky's chest, and completed a series of emergency treatments within seconds. A few moments later, Nicky suddenly opened his eyes and took a deep breath. He was still alive. The whole trick sounded completely insane, but somehow it had worked perfectly. With Garriga gone and millions of euros sitting inside the warehouse, the three of them quickly gathered the money and escaped before anyone could stop them. Nicky later revealed that although he had always believed he was an orphan, this man had actually raised him from childhood and taught him every skill he knew about stealing, deception, and surviving. Throughout his entire life, he had repeated one rule over and over again: never let emotions control you. But despite all those lessons, Nicky finally admitted that he had broken his own rule because he had truly fallen in love with Jess. After driving them a safe distance away, Nicky's father quietly dropped the couple off beside the road. Before leaving, he drove away with every bag of cash, leaving Nicky and Jess completely broke once again. As the two headed toward a hospital to treat Nicky's injury, he suddenly noticed something shining on Jess's wrist. Looking closer, he realized she was wearing Garriga's incredibly expensive watch, worth around 200,000 euros. Jess smiled without saying a word. Nicky couldn't help smiling back. Even though they had lost all the money, they both knew one thing for sure. As long as they had their skills, quick hands, and clever minds, they would never struggle to survive, no matter where in the world they ended up.